Hi guys, I'm just going to do a quick review of the Fairtex Super Sparring MMA glove and the Venum Challenger 3.0 sparring glove. Plus also, I've just received in the mail since filming the original part of this video, the Hayabusa T3 hybrid glove. So I'm going to be comparing this to the two I've just explained about as well. My name's Eli Montague. I teach Taiji and Bagua, which usually you wouldn't associate these kind of gloves with, but we use these to pressure test and do our self-defense training with these type of gloves. So in my opinion, they're both really nice gloves. I've tested out probably about 15 different types of these particular type of gloves. Okay, so first of all, I'll talk about the pros of the Fairtex comparatively to the Venum. So for what we do, since we do self-defense, we don't want our wrist wrapped. So for what we do, I really like the fact that this wrist area is very minimal. Whereas with the Venum one, it's a double wrist wrap system. It's much thicker. It just feels much more bulky on your wrist. So for boxing or MMA, you might like that, in which case that wouldn't be a negative for you. The other major pro for me is that this particular glove, out of all the MMA sparring gloves I've tested, it's the most malleable on your hand. It's the loosest. I can close my fist completely and it feels good. Like I don't have to, you know, some of them you've got to really squeeze your hand tightly in order to close your hand. I can close my hand with, you know, minimal, just a tiny bit of effort, but barely anything. I can also open my hand. I can open my hand till about there with little to no effort, and I can open it fully, and that's pretty comfortable to still open the hand completely. In comparison to the Venum glove, it's a little stiffer. I'll pop that one on in a minute. But yeah, it's a little bit stiffer. So to open your hand fully, you've got to use quite a lot of tension. So that for me is a negative for the Venum. So yeah, just in general, I feel like there's less on my hand. I feel it's closer to having nothing on my hand when I'm using this glove in comparison to this glove. So that's a big pro point. However, if we move on to the pro points for the Venum, the padding on the Venum is so much better than on these ones. It's so much more protective to the guy getting hit. So this is the small, these are both the small size, okay? They offer, it's around about the same thickness of padding, but the difference is it's not actually softer padding on either or. They're both similar in terms of their softness. They both feel quite soft. But the difference is this one, it's kind of got this nice springiness to it, whereas this is, it's dull. It's like it's just a dull, lifeless kind of bleh when you push into it. So what I've found is, I've tested out both of these and I've had someone punch me straight in the nose with both gloves, and when I get punched with this one, it's really not nice. It's sure better than getting punched with a fist, but it's not nice at all. And even to, you know, anywhere else on the head, it knocks your head a lot more than this one. So this has that nice, givey springiness to it, and in my opinion, it just offers so much more protection. So as you can see now, there's a lot more on my wrist with this one. So that was the negative I was mentioning about the wrist part. For me, that's, as I say, as a Taiji practitioner, I don't like having something big and bulky on my wrist. But another pro of this one, look, see how much, it's quite slimline compared to that. It's basically no wider than my fist, which is great because it's, yeah, you can do everything that you would do without a glove. The negative side is, you see, I can only open my hand till about there with no tension. I can open my hand fully, but I've got to use a lot of tension in my forearm in order to do that. So it's a little stiffer. I'm hoping in time, after I've used them a lot more, maybe they will soften up, in which case they'll be perfect. At the moment, these have some good points and these have some good points. If these get as loose as this, then I would see no reason to ever use the Fairtex set. Closing the fist is fine. There's no tension. In fact, I would say there's a little bit less tension in order to close the fist, but again, the counter argument is that it's difficult to open the hand. So if you want If protection is your main criteria, then these ones are far better than these ones, if you want to be able to hit a little bit harder in your sparring. But if freedom of movement and flow of hand movement is your main criteria, then these would be the better ones. You just need to hit a little lighter. What I've found is, with some gloves, you might find that under light pressure, they're similar, but then when you go up to heavier pressure, one offers more protection. Whereas with these gloves, I find that under soft or hard pressure, these give a nicer protection every time compared to these ones. I just don't like getting hit with these. It feels like I'm really getting clunked in the head. These feel like a nice, they've just got that nice springiness to them. And I really feel like you can train that little bit, you're more likely to train that little bit harder and rougher and get a better skill set comparatively to if you're wearing these and you're getting hurt and then you, oh, hang on, I need to have a break. Now, differences in the sizing. Okay, these are both small size. These are both small size. This is the large, not the biggest that they do. They do an extra large as well, whereas this is the largest size in the Venum. So I'd say, yeah, they're both pretty much the same in terms of like width, thickness. The Venum is still a little bit bulkier in certain ways, especially again the wrist area, but yeah, roughly about the same. But the major difference is, if you look at the Fairtex, look at the padding on them, there's a little bit of difference. The large size has a fraction more padding than the small size, but there's not much in it. Whereas, now I already said before that the Venum small has about the same amount of padding as the Fairtex small. I find from my own practice of getting punched in the head, even the small Venum still offers more protection than the large Fairtex. But now let's move up to the large. This is the LXL, L/XL Venum. They only have 3 sizes, small, medium, and large XL. Whereas these come in small, medium, large, and extra large. So this is the biggest size they do. This is the second biggest size of the Fairtex. Anyway, yeah, if you look at those now, side by side, I think you can see, and I can certainly feel, these have a lot more padding. So with the Fairtex, the biggest size, you don't get much more padding. There's barely anything in it. This gives you a considerable, it's like the padding size goes up equally to how big the glove goes up. So if you're okay wearing a bigger glove, you're not too worried about the bulk of the larger glove, then this will give you by far the best possible protection. There's almost as much padding, in my opinion, on these as most boxing gloves. There is a lot of padding there. Now, yeah, it is a fairly large, bulky glove. So again, if you're doing lots of small clinching work and stuff, maybe you find it too big, in which case you'd want to go for the smaller size. Now, I'm about 181 centimeters. I'd say my hand is average for my size. I fit into the small one. Although the only difference I feel in terms of benefits of size-wise to the big one, I do feel because it's a little bigger, it's not as tight on my hand, so I can open my hand a little bit more easily with these ones compared to the small one. But again, maybe that will change with time, maybe they loosen up. But yeah, if you don't mind the bulk, then that will definitely, out of every glove I've tried, this gives the most protection of any MMA sparring glove in existence, I think. If you know something that's more protection than these, please comment, because I'd be really curious to try it out. Also, if you know of any gloves, as I've been saying, this one's nice and loose on the hand as far as letting me open and close the hand freely. If you know of a glove that has total freedom of hand opening, but still lots and lots of padding, please let me know. As I say, I've tested quite a few, not just the ones I've bought, but in shops and ones that my friends have owned and my students have owned and other people. But I haven't, so far this is the best all-rounder that I've found. So anyway, yeah, if you're not too worried about the bulk, best glove you can have protection-wise. All of them have pretty good thumb protection, nice little bit of padding across the thumb, it's pretty even across the board. Back wrist padding in case you clip an elbow or something on the back of your hand. I would say this is yeah, considerably more than the Fairtex. I think that's one of the things that makes the Fairtex more easily to open, you see, because this is not so thick here, there's nothing restricting that joint part from moving up. Whereas with this, it's got a lot more padding here, but the trade-off is it's harder to open your hand. Now, the one negative side to taking a larger size, if you look at my knuckles, see how my little finger particularly, even my index finger, but see when I close my fist, the fingers don't line up, which is no good. I can't throw a proper punch like that. But now look at the same fist, nice and lined up. Perfect. Okay? And in my opinion, doing this, there's no real negatives apart from maybe someone's finger going in there and getting it caught. So basically I haven't put my fingers, you see, I haven't put my outside fingers through the holes. The holes are too wide apart because it's a large glove. The glove is too big for me. But if I really want that extra padding that the large glove offers, I can simply take my fingers out of those outer holes. So I can still move my hand freely as I would want to, but I get that extra padding. And I can't see any negative because your fingers are still in the main thick band there. You can still open your fingers or close your fingers. I don't feel like it's any less likely to come loose or do yourself a damage or anything like that. So yeah, I actually have been using these ones like this so that I get the maximum protection for my partner that I'm hitting. Now, even though the Fairtex don't offer much more padding with the larger size, you can't go to the larger size anyway if your hand is too small because the finger holes don't have extra holes between the finger holes. You can't put your fingers out through them. The only option is to put your fingers through all the holes. So same problem. If I put my fingers fully in that, my fingers are all out of shape. I can't form a proper fist when I throw the punch. Okay, so coming on to the Hayabusa now. In comparison to the Fairtex and the Venum that I've just been talking about. I don't have the Fairtex with me anymore because I didn't like them very much, so I've sent them back, but I really like the Venums and the Hayabusa, so I'll be keeping those. So anyway, I'll compare these, well, I'll compare them to the Fairtex as well, but obviously I won't show them because I've sent them back. So, if you notice my mouth moving a little bit funny, by the way, I just had 2 wisdom teeth out, and so my mouth is still a bit sore, and yeah. So the glove itself, synthetic leather. They fit very, very nicely. In my opinion, these are the nicest quality of the 3 that I've been trying. They just, as soon as you pick them up, you're just like, oh yeah, oh, they're nice. They just feel like quality, like strong, well-built, well-designed gloves. Not that the other 2 are bad, but these just feel like a little bit more premium kind of thing. Some more effort has gone into the making of these. This one here is the small size, the smallest one they do. So if you were a very small person, they'd probably be too big. But yeah, this is the small size. It fits me very nicely. The way they fit on the hand, the strapping system across the hand, the way it holds onto your hand is superior to the other 2. Very, very nice. It has the best thumb protection by far as well. Very, very good, thick, dense thumb protection in there. And out of interest, this is also not this specific glove, but this style of glove is what amateur MMA fighters use as well. So I asked one of my friends who does MMA competitions, amateur ones, as opposed to the traditional sort of 4-ounce style, which is what the pros use. So this is basically what they use. Obviously, in comparison to say that, like these 2 gloves are about the same weight. It's classed as a 7-ounce, but because it's a small size, it's about 6.9. This is about 6.3 ounces, so ballpark, they're about the same. Probably the medium size of this glove, since this glove, as you can see, is a little bit smaller. Sorry about that. This glove is a little bit smaller. So the medium size, which would be the same size as this, then they'd be about the same in terms of weight. But as you can see, the main difference between the 2, see, and the Fairtex were much more similar to these, you can see there that this is designed, it's already in a fisted shape, okay? So that's why it's a lot harder to open your hand, like I was explaining about the other 2 gloves. Whereas the Hayabusa, it's flat. Well, there's no restriction whatsoever on opening your hand, and that's the main thing that's brilliant about it in comparison to the other 2. So I mentioned before that the Fairtex was easier to open than the Venum, the opening function of the hand, but it is still a curved glove. So as I said, I don't have those at the moment, so I'll use this to demonstrate in comparison. You can see it is still a slightly domed glove. The amateur MMA require the knuckle section to be domed and at least a minimum of 6 ounces. So these are just over 6 ounces and they are still semi-curved. They're classed as partially curved. So that's allowed in the amateur MMA competitions. Now, I've never done an amateur MMA competition, so I don't know for myself, but my friend who has one of my training partners who has done it, he said that these type would probably be allowed because it still follows the rule. They're still domed and they're still over 6 ounces. However, you'd be putting yourself at a great disadvantage by wearing these because they are bulkier, as you can see. In terms of not the whole glove, but just the knuckle protection, there is a lot more padding. So they're much better for sparring and not getting hurt. But this on your hand, you can see it's much more low profile. So especially your grappling work, you're not going to get stuck as much in these as you would in these, and especially the larger size. That's like quite bulky in comparison to that one. So anyway, yeah, this particular glove is what you can use in an amateur MMA fight. So if your main aim is to go and compete in MMA, then getting used to this type of glove is going to be your best bet. Downsides are, it obviously still hurts more than getting hit by one of these squishier, softer gloves. So as you can see by the two, the Venum is much more wanting to be in a fist shape, whereas this one, you've got to close your fist. So effectively, this one, it's difficult to open your hand. You have to use tension to open up your hand. I wouldn't want to open my hand too far because my fingers are in a funny position. I'd feel like I'm going to damage my fingers. This glove, I can open my hand. It's like totally unrestricted. There is no restriction on opening my hand whatsoever. The reverse applies to closing your hands. This one, when I close my hand, it's already closed. That's where my hand naturally sits. It wants to sit there closed. So there's no tension required to make a fist. With this glove, you see, about there, I start to feel a little bit of tension. I've got to pull the glove around, you see, so I've got to squeeze a little bit to make a fist. Now, I've only just received these in the mail, and already they're loosening up quite a lot. I've punched them on the bag a couple of times, and compared to when I first bought them, there are a lot less tension required to make a fist. So my guess is, if you use them for a little while longer, I don't know if they'd ever get quite as loose as this, as far as the fist making, but I don't think it would be enough to worry you. I think it would be loose enough that it would feel fine to make a fist out of these ones, even though they are designed to be a little bit more open. Now, the way they fit, if you can see here, see how my fingers are a little looser? It's like the holes for your fingers are too large, even though this is the smallest size that they do. Whereas this one, you can see how it's nice and tight in there. I don't know if you can really see that on the camera, but yeah, anyway, my fingers feel, especially look at that. Yeah, you can see that, look. I can fit another finger in there, in the little finger hole, you see? Whereas on this side, the finger holes are, well, you could fit slightly fatter fingers than my fingers if you had a bigger hand than me, but they still feel like they hug your fingers nicely. I feel like if I was wearing this in an actual match where you can't just sort of say, hang on, stop, to put your glove back on. So sparring, it's not really such an issue because anytime you need to stop, you just stop. Competition, you need to go until the bell rings. So you don't want your glove falling off. So I would definitely opt for these. So essentially, coming back to the Fairtex, which I showed before, these give, in my opinion, from my own pressure testing, just punching myself in the head with them basically, testing them out, these give actually a little bit more protection than the Fairtex, yet they have full opening of the hand. So I wouldn't see any reason why to buy the Fairtex. As I said before, they are a good glove. They have a lot of good aspects, but now that I've got this, I thought they had good aspects when comparing them to this because of that easier to open hand shape. But now that I've got this competition style glove, as opposed to the fully rounded gloves, which are these two, I am finding now I can't think of any reason why anyone would want to buy the Fairtex versions, because these, in my opinion, protect your partner just as much as the Fairtex, but they create no resistance. They're a little bit slimline, a little bit more slimline. I feel like there's less on my hand. I feel like it would get trapped less. I feel like just, yeah, it feels like there's less on my hand, less restriction from my part as the wearer. So I'm going to leave the Fairtex out of the equation now and just compare these two gloves and tell you the pros and cons of the two. Because essentially this glove does everything that the Fairtex does, some things better, and it doesn't have any of the negatives of the Fairtex glove. Unless, oh, okay, the one compromise again is that this one, yes, you do, if punching is the only thing you do, well then the Fairtex, you can close your fist more easily because they are more curved. This, you still need that little bit of tension. But as I said, I think it will loosen up with time anyway. But then why would you want an open fingered glove if you mainly do punching? So, okay, so pros and cons of a fully curved style like this versus your fully open hand style. Essentially the same thing that I already said about this one versus the Fairtex. This is still a lot, it's a lot thicker. It's a lot thicker. Even on the smaller size, this small size, this is still a much thicker padding than what this is. Because it's thicker, it has the ability to be softer. You can see it's much softer. So you can punch yourself straight on the nose with this, that sort of pressure, and that feels like nothing. Sure, a hard punch is still going to feel it, but that sort of look, you can see it squishing over my nose. With this one, it doesn't squish. Look, even that much pressure, it's not comfortable. It is punched right on my nose. It doesn't mold around your nose because it's a dense padding. It has to be dense because it's thinner. If it was the same density as this, it wouldn't do anything because of its lack of thickness. So anyway, essentially a glove like this, I've tested them out pretty well, comparing the two. And for light to medium pressure, this does your partner far less damage than this, particularly on soft, vulnerable areas like your nose, your ears, your eyes, things like that. It's not so much different when you get just punched on the forehead or something, but anywhere that's soft, ow, that's my wisdom tooth. Don't do that, Eli. Yeah, even to the side of the jaw, you can see it squishes in nicely. So when you get hit on the side of the jaw with this, it's still, oh, it really shocks your head to the side. This one slows down that acceleration. When you get hit, it squishes in and your head accelerates a little bit slower. So not only the superficial damage is less, but that throwing of your head is a little bit less when wearing this glove. Now, of course, when you go up to heavy pressure, because this will compress all the way in an instant because it's under so much pressure, then there's not really any difference. I found that once you're hitting quite firmly, there's pretty much, I couldn't tell the difference between the two. Now, when you go up to the large size of these, which, as I've mentioned, you can wear. I can wear the large size, even though they're too big for me. If I want more padding, I can just wear the large size. These ones are, look at them, I've already shown you that before. They're a lot thicker again, much thicker. Anyway, yeah. This one now takes this and pushes it even further. So you've got more bulk, of course, but getting hit in the face with this is quite nice. It's quite pleasant. So it really slows down that acceleration of your head getting knocked to the side. It really spreads the power out so your nose doesn't get busted, things like that. But of course, you've got a much bulkier glove, so your grappling is going to take a hit. Now, of course, you could use these perfectly fine with very light training. So very light training where you just sort of, just pop, this kind of thing. Well, then it doesn't really matter what the padding is because you're hitting each other so gently. But if you want to be able to put a bit more force in, then and not get hurt all the time, then these type of gloves are going to be your best bet, even though they restrict your grappling a little bit. If you're going to spar heavy or do a tournament, well, then you're hitting each other as hard as you can, or even if you're going not even as hard as you can, but just a good solid punch, then there's not that much difference between the two different types, because this is denser, yet this is thicker. So they even out when you're hitting at hard pressure. So to sum up, I would say that if you're doing primarily grappling stuff, then this is probably your best bet, with a little bit of punching in there as well, but this allows your hand complete freedom of movement for your grappling. If you're doing primarily punching, or at least a lot of punching, and you don't want to be busting your partner's nose every time you're getting punched with your jabs and so on, this is a lot more comfortable, especially if you're just beginners and you're not used to getting hit in the head. This is going to allow you to get comfortable with sparring without being fearful of getting hit. You get hit in the face with this, it's like, oh, actually that was okay. Yeah, let's keep training. You get hit in the face with this, bang, and you're like, oh, that wasn't very nice. I don't think I'm going to come back to class next time. So that's where this one is better. And if you really want lots of padding, then just take the largest size of that glove. And then that's it's almost like using boxing gloves. But there's still enough movement in the hand, enough maneuverability in the hand to be able to do the majority of your grappling stuff. It's only really the really tight little locks and stuff. I would say you'd be able to apply anything you wanted to with this glove on, but it's getting out of stuff. If the other guy is applying some kind of a lock, an armbar or whatever, you could get your hand out using this. Whereas this has that extra bit of bulk on it, and maybe it gets stuck in there and then you have to tap out. And of course, if you're getting ready for actually doing a competition, then you want to wear the glove that you're going to be using in the competition at least some of the time to get used to that glove. Oh, price point, this is about the same price as the Fairtex glove, 150 Australian dollars. Everything else about this glove, apart from the difference in padding that I've explained, but everything about this glove I prefer over the Fairtex or the Venum. The strap system, it's really comfortable and secure and easy to use. The thumb protection is better. Just the comfort, the fit, the way it feels on your hand. They're a brilliant glove. This is the best glove I've ever put on my hand. Now, if only someone would make this glove just with a little bit of extra low density padding on the outside, over the top of that. It'd be a little bit more bulky, but it would mean you'd get that softer sparring thing, but at the same time as being able to open your hand. Because I haven't found anything that has full hand opening like this that's got this kind of padding. I've not been able to find that because they're all got that full curved fist position shape. So anyway, thank you for joining me. I hope that's given you a good little insight as to the different types of gloves you can use for your sparring, whether you're practicing MMA or whatever that you're practicing. So yeah, that's about all I wanted to say on the two gloves. As I said, just to wrap up, both really nice gloves. If protection is your main criteria, the Venums, hands down, no question about it. I've done testing where I've punched hard stuff to see if my knuckles go through the padding. I've got my training partners to punch me square in the head or across the jaw. Every time, any part of the body, any type of strike, this offers way more protection than the Fairtex. But if your main criteria is to be smaller and, well, actually, no, smallness, if you just get the small size Venum, that still offers more protection than this. And it's the smallest size. It's a little stiffer. That's the only negative. So yeah, the Fairtex, if flow of being able to open and close your hand is your main criteria, you might want to go with those. And if you're happy just not putting in much power. But as I say, keep in mind, perhaps with time, these are brand new, with a bit of time, I reckon these will probably loosen up. And if these do loosen up to the same level of those, then in my opinion, they're the perfect grappling, sparring, punching, MMA, whatever you're using them for, perfect sparring glove. Oh, and they're both made out of synthetic leather, just in case you were wondering. I have seen some sites advertise these as genuine leather, but they're not. They're synthetic leather. It says it on the side. It literally says on the side, made in Thailand, Syntech leather, which is a synthetic leather. Well, thanks for watching, guys. If you've got any questions about either of these gloves or the Fairtex as well, even though I don't have them anymore, just comment below and I'll try and answer as best as I can. Good stuff, guys. See you soon.